Welcome to our third episode of A Safe Space. This is a place for real conversations. No pressure, no perfect answers. Just people sharing what it actually feels like to be human. Because the truth is we all carry things. Some of it we talk about and some things we don't. This podcast is about creating a space where those conversations feel a little easier to have. Today I'm joined by two very close friends of Breakthrough, whose connection to this work goes far beyond fundraising. It's about community, resilience, well-being and helping people, taking those meaningful small steps through our life's challenges. First, I'd like to welcome Mr. Chris Bosley from Amorini Kitchens. Amorini have proudly partnered with Breakthrough through volunteering, sponsorship and a genuine commitment to mental well-being. Members of the Bosley family have also taken part in our Larapinta and Kokoda fundraising treks. And whilst Chris serves on the Growth and Development Committee for Breakthrough, he also joined us on the trek last year. And today we'll talk about his experience, the challenges, the perspectives it gives you, and why the journey was so worthwhile. I'm also very pleased to welcome Mignon Furnell, the co-founder and the Chief Executive Operating Officer of Kokoda Centurions, a not-for-profit organisation that coordinates Kokoda fundraising treks with a strong focus on men's mental health, their connection, their resilience, and encouraging people to speak openly and to seek out support. Mignon has seen firsthand the transformation this happens when people take that first step outside their comfort zone. They take on a challenge together and they realise that they don't have to carry life struggles alone. Today's conversation is about Kokoda, but it's also about life. Because whether you're walking on a mountain trek or facing personal challenges closer to home, progress always starts with one small step.
This is a safe space where the silence speaks, where the truth can breathe, and you finally see no shame.
This episode is brought to you by Amorini Australia, proud partners and supporters of Breakthrough since 2021. Amorini is a proudly South Australian family-owned business that shares Breakthrough's commitment to community, quality and long-term impact. Amorini specialises in kitchens and whole-of-home joinery solutions, working with a trusted network of trade partners and distributors across Australia. Whether you're planning a renovation or building a new home, visit amorini.com.au and the team will connect you with the right trade partners to support you on your journey.
Today I'm joined by two very close friends. And they're very close friends to myself, but also especially to Breakthrough. And their connection goes far beyond their fundraising. It goes into their community, their resilience, it goes into their well-being and their wish to want to help other people, which is why I think we're friends. Within that then, we've got Chris Bosley. Hi, Chris.
Hello, John.
Chris is one of the directors of Amorini Kitchens, and Amorini have been a proud partner of Breakthrough through their volunteering, their sponsorship, their commitment to making a difference in the mental health world, but also the fact they keep borrowing and lending us some of the Bosley family to join us in Larapinta, Kokoda, golf days, and all of the fundraising areas. And Chris, you're also part of our Growth and Development Committee, which is really cool to have your voice there. You joined us on the Kokoda Track last year, and today we're going to share some of those experiences. But we didn't go on our own. We went in a group of other beautiful people. And representing Kokoda Centurions is Mignon Furnell. And Mignon, it says here that you're the co-founder and the Chief Executive Operating Officer, but I think on your profile it said more than that. I think it said that you were just a beautiful person, that you were caring, compassionate, connected.
Who wrote those lines?
I think you might have done them yourselves. But also that part that you have this very strong passion around men's mental health, around the connection, about bringing people together and finding ways to do so, about growing our resilience and encourage us to really open up and have honest conversations, which by joining us on the Safe Space today is a beautiful narrative for us. You also had that first-hand experience of being one of the leaders on the Kokoda Track, and you took every one of us out of our comfort zone, and I think there might have been a few times you joined us on that.
Absolutely.
And you made us realise that the struggles we have in day-to-day life often reflected the struggles we might have been having on the trek and vice versa. And today's conversation is all around that journey that translates off the Kokoda Trek, what it meant to each and every one of us, and how we can get people to sort of make that connection to say, some of the steps we take in our lives are a challenge, but if we take one step at a time, it can be achievable. So thank you for joining us today. We're really, really excited for the next conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So a lot of people won't even know what is the Kokoda Trek. So, Min, are you happy just to explain what actually is Kokoda and why we went there in the first place?
Well, Kokoda's almost like a rite of passage for Australians. For the people that know about it, it was a significant battle in the Second World War, a battle that we weren't expected to win, and a battle that the soldiers that were in Kokoda were not even trained. They were militia that were just rounded together because everyone else was away fighting the big war. And it was actually really significant because it stopped the Japanese getting to Australia. So it really was a turning in the war. It was a really hard battle. The conditions in Kokoda are just hell on earth. You know, we all know now the climate, the terrain, and we did it basically first class, really, compared to what the soldiers did. So it's not only on a bucket list for people for the physical achievement and feeling good about achieving that physical achievement. It's also about learning along the way what our soldiers went through, both physically and emotionally. And I think we tap into that when we're there. I think John and Chris, you can attest to that, like when you really sit down and listen to the stories and the podcasts and get right into the nitty-gritties of what the soldiers did and what they did for each other and how they were there to support each other, really kind of mimics mental health struggles as well. So the significance is that it really is a metaphor for mental health challenges as well.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful summary. Thanks, Min. I mean, for those people that don't know, it's over in Papua New Guinea, isn't it? Officially, is it 97 kilometres we're supposed to walk? But some of us
They
walk.
say 96, but it's definitely not.
It's not, yeah.
But it's more.
I think on one of the girls on a smartwatch, she's clocked 130 kilometres.
Wow.
I think that was if we take in the toilet breaks. There's a few zigzags we were doing along the way. But also the terrain is incredibly complex, isn't it? I think there was one of the days where we were on one of the tops of the ridges and we were just looking down into the valley, and they were explaining that the Japanese soldiers had run down one valley and up to actually start the battle. And you just looked at that and you go, how we just had our rucksacks on, didn't we? And we were exhausted. And here you are is a place for a battle. And that whole journey that you then take along that way, it's just interspersed, isn't it, with those beautiful stories that come out of the diaries, come out of the reflections, and it makes it very personal and poignant, doesn't it, for us?
It really does, yeah.
Is there sort of a memory that from the Kokoda then, from last year, that you're still holding now, Chris? Is there something that you've still got there that's that story that holds very, very strong for you?
I've got two, I would say. One of them was, we were just trying to work it out before we went, I think it was day 4, I'd say, when we were up on top of Brigade Hill.
Day 4 of how many?
Eight
on the track.
So about halfway through.
About halfway through.
Yeah.
And I was on top of Brigade Hill, and before we'd left, I remember saying, I think we'd spoken, I said to Carmen and the kids, my wife, speak to you guys in 9 days. I've got no reception. I'm off grid. I'm into this. See you at the other end. And we're getting up to Brigade Hill. We're day 4. We've woken up, you're up at 5 o'clock every morning. You're back on the track by 6, and it's this repetitive nature. And Brigade Hill's quite an important piece of history in the Kokoda Track and the story of Kokoda. And I remember sitting up on top of that hill and someone said, we've got reception. And all of a sudden your head switches back home. And to that point, you're in it. You're not thinking about what's happening back home. You're thinking about that one step at a time. You're thinking about we're in the thick of it. And I remember going, I need to borrow someone's phone. I have to call home. Came out of nowhere. Couldn't get through. All of a sudden I got a ringtone and I just started losing it. And I was bawling and I went straight to Carmen's voicemail. Everyone else spoke to their wives and their families. She didn't pick up. And I couldn't even speak. I was just blubbering mess. And then I had to get the phone and I had to text them and say, I had to text Carmen and say, I'm absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's just really tough. Sorry. See you in 4 days or chat to you in 4 days. But that moment really stood out to me because that was the part that was I think when I felt most vulnerable, like I was just, I'd sort of hit my little, I think everyone had it. Some people had it on day one, day two, day 4. Some people, I don't know if you're my brother, he might not have had one, I don't think. But that was my part. That was my little almost reset where I went, whoa, this is happening. We are out here. We are in the thick of it. So that moment really rings a bell. Like it sticks with me at probably the hardest part I found of the whole trek. And I had heat exhaustion that afternoon. That didn't help. But then the other one was, I remember standing on at the end where, we're getting ready to finish the trek and we're going to go through the gates.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I started hearing the locals singing. And they're singing a song and that video, and I still watch the video and I just got chills.
Yeah.
I just went, whoa. I remember coming through and the cameras are there and you're trying to look all positive and we're walking through and we all walked through those gates, through the locals with the people. We all walked the trek together, but a lot of us came with someone else or with a group of people. So with some very close friends of ours, Matt, Andy, Mitch, Tom and I, the 5 of us walked through together. And I remember thinking, this is a moment we're going to get this beautiful photo and Rusty's there with the camera taking a video. And on the video, I remember coming through and I just started crying again. Oh, that wasn't very good, was it? And I quickly wipe it off.
It's reality.
It's reality, right? And it was a shock and it was like, shit. We just did that.
Yeah.
And just sat back there in shock. So they were the 2 that halfway through at rock bottom, I mean, there was thousands of moments I think we'll remember forever.
Yeah.
But they were 2 that really stood out to me as, I guess, pivotal moments in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and very powerful, and the extremes of those emotions. Yeah. And I think you weren't the only person that came through those gates and might have had a few.
Mine were happy tears. I know some others were like, thank God.
Some of them was a relief, and we've survived. What about you, Min? I mean, you're wearing a multitude of hats there. You were in charge of a whole group of people. You were taking your own journey. You were in a beautiful relationship with your husband on your pair of your journey together, and then you had family members with you as well. So, there must have been a myriad of different things that went through your head.
It's really hard to narrow down. Like Chris says, there's hundreds of moments that you think about regularly. You run them through your head, and we were really privileged, as you said, John, to have my husband Darcy was with us, our 2 sons, Darcy Jr. and Beau. My brother was there, Lincoln, and a niece, Isabella. She came along as well. So it was great. It's really good to be able to share that experience with family members like that, as you would with your brother. And I felt really proud just once we arrived in the hotel when we got there to see what Kokoda Centurions as a team, Scotty, Darcy, Derek and myself had achieved and got 44 people together ready to go. It was just amazing. And watching those people blossom in their vulnerability, in their confidence, in their strength was really powerful as well. As Chris says, that Brigade Hill moment, I think Brigade Hill and Isharava are 2 really poignant moments because of the battles that happened, the stories that you hear about the soldiers, and also the fact that at Brigade Hill you weren't the only one that cried. My brother sobbed when he spoke to his wife as well. It's just
at least he got to speak to her.
Correct. There was a few times he couldn't, and he was losing his mind about it. But the fact that we listened to Paul Ashenden recite a poem about his grandfather. What is he, grandfather or great-grandfather? Grandfather, yeah. I mean, that made us all, we were all very emotional.
Incredibly
about
powerful,
that.
wasn't it?
And it was about halfway.
Yeah.
Right? So at about that point, there was a whole lot going on. It's sort of the achievement of being halfway, that moment, and then being like the other side going, shit.
We've still got
We've
another
still got another half. There were so many. You said at the start, just before, you said that you were proud of getting 44 people into the hotel ready to go. I'd argue that there's probably half that weren't actually ready to go. we might have been in the hotel, but I don't think we're all aware of what we're stepping into.
I don't think anyone ever is.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, I mean, it's a real leveller because you're on the same playing field when you get to Kokoda. It doesn't, some people might be fitter, but no one knows what they're in for. You really don't. You think you know, but you really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I love that whole thing. Were we ready? I certainly wasn't ready. I was, not necessarily in that right headspace. I was still working until I think we got up early in the morning. I was still working, so just beforehand, and hadn't necessarily put myself in the right mindset, and I just turned up and then.
And you'd had some setbacks physically on the way in the train and the lead
not
up.
necessarily the preparation you would have liked to have done. So I think it was that part around there then that the thing that sits with you is then the little comments that were made along the way, or the little conversations you had, or just those quiet reflection pieces. One thing that sits massively with me was I had the most incredible porter. We all have beautiful porters, and they're all are incredible. And Timo was my porter, and he was beautiful because I was struggling, and he could see I was struggling, and I was struggling from day 2. Yeah. Day 2 was my worst day of any physical challenge I think I've had in my life. And he just said to me, he just said, John, your legs are too long. And so I was like going, well, I'm in a bit of trouble here then, because, this is what I've got. And so I said, well, what do I do? What do I do? And he said, well, stop taking big strides, take small steps.
Ones.
Yep.
And it was so powerful, because I'd take a small step, and then he went, no, take a smaller step. And every time he said, what you need to do is think about the half step, and then I want you to do half of that, and then actually we'll be able to keep that pace going, keep that pace going. And every time I sort of got into a rhythm and thought I was doing well, all of a sudden he just reminded me small steps. And it's something that's stuck with me, because it was that part around that challenge and breaking it down and looking at the one step at a time. Another metaphor, because every day there was that first big hill, and there was a big hill going up, which meant there was a big hill going down.
That first big hill was really big.
Well, the big hill
on day 1.
I'm not sure how to say it on air really, but it is a big hill. And I love the fact that Mick, who was our leader, said, I've never told you a lie. I've just not necessarily told you the truth. Because every step and every walk was that sort of challenge. But for you to do this and to take part in this, what was the driver for you? What made you say, I want to do Kokoda?
Well, we'd done it before, so
you should have known better.
I know, and we ticked it off our list and thought, we've done that. So Derek, Darcy, my husband, Scotty, and myself did Kokoda 16 years ago. And Scotty came to me about 2 years ago. He'd been through a really difficult divorce and had contemplated suicide himself, and was thinking he has done a lot of different charity, rowing, kayaking the river and things like that. So he was trying to think of something that we could do. And because Kokoda brought us together, our friendship, has been really strong since that first trek. And he said, what about if we take, he always thinks big, and that's why we're called Centurions. Let's take 100 people to Kokoda and let's raise some money for men's mental health. So we tried to get 100 people. So that's where it started, is that. And we also, in that instance, bought into the fact that at that time domestic violence was, it hasn't changed, but at that time it was at a critical point with lots of women dying. And so what we tied into that was, helping men build their emotional intelligence and tapping into that. And that's part of what this whole journey does. And we run workshops along the trek, which I don't know if it's been done before. Lots of people walk Kokoda for charity, but we think tying in these workshops actually helps people, because it actually helps them get through the trek as well. I don't know what you thought, Chris, whether, those...
I think it's hard because during Derek's presentation there's torrential rain, so we couldn't hear as much at the other side, but that step to the line, we've done that before here at Adelaide Oval, but to do that up in the mountains was a pretty
spectacular.
Pretty spectacular.
Yeah, so for people who are listening and might not know what step to the line is, it's a vulnerability activity, isn't it, where we face each other and we make eye contact, and we keep that eye contact with the person opposite, because they're going to be the person that's going to be either sharing something with you or hearing something that you're sharing by you stepping forward, and you can acknowledge that. And it starts with a range of just different statements, doesn't it? And,
Easy.
and eases up and then builds up and builds up.
Did you have McDonald's for breakfast this week? Or?
And
no, because I've been on the trek.
So it was that part around how you can connect, and I think the fact we were 2,000 metres up in a beautiful village right up in the hills, and we'd got to know each other over those. In fact, it was day 4, so this was the powerful day, wasn't it?
It was a transformational day.
Yeah. So I think that opportunity to share, to learn, to grow, to question, because that then triggers the next conversations, doesn't it? It triggers the conversations the next day on the trek, and you saw people pairing up and opening up more, and how fast people did that.
And from that moment, I think, I know myself especially, woke up on day 5 and went, let's go.
Yeah.
Like we're on here.
Yeah.
The conversations with everyone was so much more powerful post that, because that was that first real vulnerability piece where if you weren't walking with your pet, most of the trek you're partnered with, 1 or 2 similar people at a similar sort of pace or whatnot, and you walk together. That was when we all integrated. Everyone broke down, and all of a sudden you started seeing different pairings for the next 4 days. There were different people walking together, different conversations, and that was one thing I was going to touch on before, is I found after that, you got to know, one thing I learned from the trek is we've all got our own shit going on.
Yeah.
I literally think out of every person on that trek, everyone has something going on.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa. For the first 4 days, you got it together. You got successful business here. You got this, whatever it might be. Your family sounds great. All these things. And as soon as that day 4 had gone, we moved on to the next day. We were all like, someone would open up and say, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I remember, and without going into the personal story or the name, someone opening up to me when we're walking through that moss jungle, through the moss forest.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the most beautiful conversation by the end of it, and then we caught up for the soiree.
Oh, yeah.
When we had our soiree when we got back, which was like a celebration to, of what the money we'd raised and everything. And I went up and said, so how's your mate going, And he updated me, and I was like, that's, you think back and you're putting yourself back in the moss forest, or it was called moss forest, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it?
In the moss forest. And I also like that part because you got to walk slowly on flat ground. It wasn't
what about those conversations then that you'd have along the way? Because every day, we're sort of trekking 14, 15 kilometres. You get into that sort of routine. You heard the sort of the younger trekkers at the front that were all energetic. You had the sensible trekkers in the middle, and then you had us older ones at the back, because we're just making sure everyone gets up there. Yeah.
Exactly. We've got to herd them up.
We do have to. We're the
them.
motivators, aren't we? What did you notice around those sort of conversations that were taking place on the trek? Was it that honesty became quite a normal conversation? Was it that people felt safer to talk about things?
Yeah, I think so. As Chris said, I think you realise that everyone's got shit going on, and you're in a safe space. You can be honest and vulnerable. You don't have to pretend to be somebody you're not, because everyone's there for their own reasons. And it just seemed organic, didn't it, to be able to just talk.
I think you got your confidence to actually, as well, as the trek went on, you got your confidence to be in silence, because you had enough hours on the trek every day that you could just sit there in silence. You could be walking with someone, we could be this close to each other, and you wouldn't talk for it, not say a word.
Yeah.
There'd be other times where people would be in front of you, behind you, and you'd be walking on the Kokoda Track with no one, just in this space, and that was pretty special. But I think people found their voice so far as you were able to ask a question of someone that you didn't necessarily know. You're able to, I think that was what I noticed throughout the trek, is we started asking vulnerable, more exposing conversation or questions. It was like, I'd look and I'd say to him, hey, Minnie, tell me more about your kids.
Yeah.
Something just like that. As simple as, well, we're walking for the next 8 hours, let's have a conversation. So I'd say, tell me more about your kids. Well, that was then leading into understanding, this not with yours, not with the boys, but there's stuff going on in everyone's lives. So it was not just the confidence to be able to speak yourself, but the confidence to find your voice to ask the question.
Yeah.
And I think I've brought that back. I think is
I
something
think so
is a
too.
skill that a lot of people brought back, which was it's okay to be in this uncomfortable space, but it is also okay to ask a question. Because the worst thing that's going to happen, someone says, I'm fine. Don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But before that, we might not have asked.
Yeah. I wonder why it is that, obviously it's great to hear that those skills were brought back with people. I wonder why it is we feel more safe to be having those conversations and asking those questions. We're in the middle of a jungle 4 days into a trek with people that we might not know than we are in our day-to-day lives. Like, I wonder why that is.
I think you guys have unlocked the code for this, I think, and not just through Kokoda. It goes to the Breakthrough, have a series of car conversations.
I was going to say the same thing.
Cross promotion
here. Eye contact.
There's not that eye contact. So remember, we went for a drive together.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most genuine conversations are when you're in a car. Yeah. And you don't have to look at each other. Yeah. Someone's driving, someone's looking out the window, and you're talking, and you get deeper with someone than you ever would. But you're not looking at each other.
Totally.
There's not that awkward period where you're trying to,
Yeah, I think it's that part where it's, as you rightly said, Min, the trek just disarms everybody, so you're all equal when you start on it, which means then when you're having conversations, it's an equal conversation no matter who it's actually with. And as you rightly say,
your title.
Didn't matter, did it?
It didn't matter at all.
Got your BMW or you haven't got your Toyota Corolla. Or,
and I love the fact that there were many times, like, day 2 was my horrendous day. Yeah. From the late afternoon, I was right at the back, and I was in a space in my own head where I was going, what have I done here? I'm not prepped like I normally would be. I'm not on the right. Am I going to get this completed? Is another hill? And I was in that sort of space. But I love the fact that I was there with a group of really close friends who at the same time noticed I was in that space, and all of a sudden I wasn't on my own. Yeah. And all of a sudden every time I took a step or I looked up, there was a smiling face there. Yeah. There was an arm on my shoulder. There was a pat on the back. There was a little bit of praise, that just little bit just to keep you going and keep you going. And then when you caught up to people, that sort of celebration of, we're all here.
Standing at the top clapping.
Yeah. And all those things that, you might think are just simple things become enormous when you at that point of time are probably showing more vulnerability than you normally show. Now, in my working life, everyone comes to me for a conversation or an advice. On the trek, I was going to everybody else and having those things. And it was, I think I got lots of opportunity where people saw just that different side that, gosh, it doesn't matter who you are, everyone struggles. Was there a time on the trek where you thought, what am I doing here?
Derek and I were talking on the second day of the trek going, what the hell are we doing back here? Like, we've done this once already.
And day 1 was hard, right? Like, hot.
Yeah.
Darcy was,
Darcy wasn't well.
It was just tough.
Why did we think it's a bit like having a baby? You have your baby and 12 months later you've forgotten the pain that you went through and you think, I'll do that again. But I think everyone had those, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. I can't do this. And it's the support of the people around you that get you past that and 100%. Get you through that.
Would you say the same?
Mine was the same day. I think everything for me happened on day 4. I had the emotion. But I remember laying down. It was after lunch, and we had one more push to go, one more valley to get through, and I had a bit of heat exhaustion. And there's a photo of it with everyone sitting around. I'm just laying in the middle. That was mine, just going, I'm knackered here. But then I walked into the village. We did step to the line. It was an incredible night, and it was great from the next day. So I think everyone hit that point, but I think everyone also found the way to get through because of the people around them. So a little story about one of our friends, Matthew, and he won't mind me talking about it. We learnt very early on in the trek that when he was struggling, if we did drop back to be with him and to walk with him and to keep him company, we weren't to talk to him. He didn't want to talk. He would respond with one step.
That's me. I didn't like to talk.
And as soon as Matt said one step, we knew that meant he was in struggle. Like he was pushing, he was grinding. He was doing one step at a time, and he didn't want to think about conversation. He appreciated and loved us being there to support. It was just like, walk with me, but don't think you're going to get anything out of me right now.
But isn't that beautiful thing though, that a lot of the times it's to be acknowledged, to be made to feel that what's actually happened to you is real, and you just need to have somebody next to you, not necessarily fixing it.
100%. And we spend a lot of time together, and to be able to see that side of someone and learn and know the mental resilience they have to get through that, and not only get through that, thrive. By the last days, he was charging.
Yeah, we had a similar part because Matthew was with us at the start. There was a group of 3 that then became a group of 4, that became a group of 5, then it went to a 3, and it kept pulsing as people sort of joined us. And on one of the days when I think it was day 3, we dug deep and we realised, okay, I think we can do this. And it was a sort of a flatter area, and Maddie started to sing, and he's got a beautiful voice, and we were all singing Beatles songs, and we're just working through this whole sort of range of them, and then Timo said, "Can you sing Love Me Do?" So we sang Love Me Do, and then he said that was my wedding song. And it was the only song he knew in English. Which is beautiful. And he was so
those moments,
beautiful moments of that. Matt might have been struggling, but in our group, when he was the leader of our group, he set the pace. Yeah, and so we can move out of the different groups and take on those different roles. But if it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't have got through day 3. Yeah. So it is that part of
he ended up setting the pace for everyone.
Yeah, he did in the end. Yeah, by the end of it, he was taking that lead for everybody.
Must have been the pickle juice.
There was a lot of things around there about how we got over our cramp. So pickle juice was one. Bruce was my saviour on day 2. I had such horrendous cramp on day 2. I actually couldn't get out of my tent. And there was one point where Jane, who is one of our beautiful friends, and she's one of the nurses, she said, "Should I come in?" I'm like going, I probably wouldn't, because I've just got out of the shower. I can't move. I'm not really wearing a lot. I'm a bit cold. So please don't come in. And then this hand came in, and it was Bruce, our trek leader, and he'd got this cup of soup. And he just said, "Drink that." And then you just saw the sort of the cramp come out of your body. But it was just that people were watching out for each other and connecting all the time. So have there been things then that you've taken from the trek that have come back and you've now noticed are part of your everyday life? Big question.
This is the quietest I've
You're going to me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Appreciation, I think, for sure. Just that, not just for what we have, but knowing that, like, I think I touched on it before, but it's like knowing that everyone's got stuff going on. So it's that appreciation to go, just because I'm battling, so is the person next to me, right? Or if I'm happy, the person next to me, if everything's gone all swimmingly, which it does, life can be beautiful, the person next to me might not be. So I think I've learned to be a little bit more aware, appreciation of what we have, but then also awareness of like what's going on around me. Like not everyone's going to be in the same boat. So tone it back a little bit. Don't think just because you're in a good mood, your good mood's going to There's a funny one. We're in the middle. There's a video of this. I wish I could share the video, and it's Tom Caesar and I, and we're doing a selfie video while we're walking, and we were like it was, I think, morning of day 5. We're excited, but we'd done about a 2.5 hour climb out of somewhere, and we're pretty knackered. And the story was around that positivity of we're finally away from Mitch, my brother. We're finally away from him and his positivity, so we can just be in our pain right now.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to, that's
no pretending.
It's Mitch's superpower. It's not pretend for him. He is just the most
He's the most positive person you'll ever
He's
met.
the most positive person I've ever met. Amazing to have as a brother and as a business partner.
Yeah.
But it was around that space of I've learned that just because I'm in a good space, not everyone, it's not going to bring necessarily people up around you if they're in their own, their own struggles. So it's kind of just to go, tone it back a bit, fill the room, be a little bit more aware.
Yeah.
And I learned that a lot on that. Like I said, with whether it's Matthew or both Matthews, Matty Rashid as well, who, just be there for people, but don't impose, give space, make it a safe space. A little bit of lead in there, but, but make it that space, make it.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
I think on the back of that appreciation is, on a side note, is actually appreciating what we have when you're in the local community and you see how happy the locals are, the kids and the parents, and they've got nothing. Yep. They've got nothing, but they welcome you with open arms. They bend over backwards to help you out. They're there to support you. They read you like a book. they have you sized up really quickly.
They catch you, don't they? Like
Correct.
literally
Literally
catch
catch
you.
you.
Like not
Yep.
not a metaphor. Like when you're falling over, when you're falling off a ledge, they grab your backpack and they pull you back up.
Yeah, and you won't have seen your porter for 45 minutes, and all of a sudden they appear out of nowhere because they know that you're coming up to some terrain that you'll need some support with. So again, that appreciation for, there is crap going on, and you have to. Everyone's got that going on, and we have compassion for that. But also, wow, these people live like this, and they're living life.
Do you remember that little kid that came for a walk with us?
Yes, he was going to the
Yeah,
dentist.
For 4 days. He had to get an infected tooth pulled, and he had to trek with us for 4 days.
Yeah,
He was 7 years old.
he was running up and
He
down.
was running up and down the line with a smile.
Yeah.
We're sitting there with our first class boots on and all of our equipment. Some of the porters have one thong, and this little kid walked with us, just chatting. He was 7 years old, just to get his tooth pulled alongside his dad. Like, incredible.
We were feeding him lollies, which probably isn't very good.
It wasn't very good for his teeth situation.
It didn't matter because his tooth was getting pulled out. So it was all right.
What about when you look at the sort of the challenge, the conversation, the reflection, and then the environment? So we're in the middle of this jungle. You've identified that then the communities don't have an awful lot, but gave us everything every time we walked through there and made us feel there's so much love, wasn't it, as you came through every area. What about the times when you're sort of stuck in that and you can't see it? Because I spent a lot of time thinking, obviously, on this trek, and there were big moments for me when I stopped at the end of the day and then thought about what I'd just done.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was talking to one of the guys on the trek, and he said, I've been watching you. And he said, and I said, oh, it's not creepy. It's not creepy. I've been watching you. And he was just sharing that some of the observations he'd made, and he'd spent time sharing his story with me along the trek. And he said, you're really good at listening. And I said, well, thank you. I said, have you not noticed I'm really good at listening when we're going up hills? And I save all the questions for going down.
Yeah.
But that listening part was important, and it was important for me to listen to what was actually being shared and feeling privileged that someone felt safe to share that. And he was saying about, then obviously you're sharing knowledge with us, and, we spoke about the step to the line, and he'd, one of the things I'd spoken about was around, when was the last time you perhaps had a date with your daughter or what have you? And at the top of the hill, he texted his daughter and asked for a date. And she texted back and said, yes, please. And since we got back, I got a second text off him saying, I've got a second date. And so the date thing was around actually spending time with your children and having those conversations and spending a bit of time where it isn't just going through the day-to-day activity we do, but actually listening to what's happening in their lives and trying to understand a little bit more. And I thought that was beautiful. And then he said, but then I've watched you at the end of the day because you're finding it really hard, aren't you? I said, I am. This is the biggest challenge I've ever had. And he said, but and you sit outside the group and you have about 20 minutes. And for me, that was my recharging bit, because we were in the most incredible scenery and countryside, and something I'll probably never, ever do again or see. And just reflecting on, well, although I might be hurting, my body's just got me 18 kilometres today. It's got me up that hill. I'm still here, and I've had beautiful conversations with people. We're going to have a lovely meal together, and we're going to be sharing some more stories, and we're going to be issuing fines to all the people that fall, fart, and everything else that happens on a trek.
But it's not a fine if your bum doesn't touch the
Got to
ground.
be both cheeks.
Both cheeks, not one.
Yeah, which is great if you've got a really good porter like I had. He never let me fall, so that was beautiful. I think it's those parts that for me was how I reflected on what had been the challenge, what had been the difficulty, and then helped me set up for the next part of the day.
It's the gratitude piece.
The gratitude piece, isn't it? Yeah. So that whole thing around really reflecting on what we can achieve and those small bits.
And in your reflection with the physical component, do you remember Mick said to us and Bruce on BD on sort of day one, and they said your mind's going to give up before your body. Sorry. Yeah, it was. Your mind's going to give up before your body, right? Like if when your mind gives up, your body's still got like 40% to go.
Yeah.
On your first episode, I heard Hazy say he was worried about twinging a calf on day one. But it's not going to be the case, right? Because your mind's going to go. Your body can push through anything. You can, sort of. It's a pretty amazing thing. But do you remember with that space, we were sitting by the river. We had that river camp that time where the two groups, one group was on the other side. We all went swimming in the middle of the river.
Yeah.
After the swimming, the rest and everyone had their break, and that we were a few of us were laying around, and we had those cards from Neve, those conversation starters, and we asked a couple of questions, and that was with a few people in the group that didn't know each other at all that had sort of come and joined, and we just sat around and we just started asking questions that you'd never ask.
Yeah,
But that was really unique because at that point everyone was just in their own space, and you're saying how do people process? I think is that it was okay to just be in your own space at that time. So when you did finish a hard day, you're allowed to take your 20 minutes and just worry about what's on the top of your tent as you're laying there going, what have I just done? You didn't have to worry about how beautiful the surroundings were because you knew as soon as you got through that space, you got out of the tent, you're like, oh my God, look where we are.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved about the way you guys ran the trek, and it's a credit, was we were given space. We weren't, we talk about the workshops and things, and it makes it sound like there was a lot, but there wasn't.
No.
So far as you could do it on your own journey. Like it's, Mitch had his group yoga stretching classes and stretching sessions. Also day 4. Big day.
Big day for me. I think we had to look after ourselves on day 4.
We were given the time. If you wanted to do something, you could. If you didn't, you could just sit there in your own mind or your own thoughts and be with those around you. So it was pretty.
Yeah, no one was forced into doing anything. There's no judgment about people joining in or not joining in.
But that was the way to get through it, wasn't it? Because no matter how hard it was, if you needed more time, just take more time.
And going back to the conversation cards, that was one of my favourite sort of times on the trek, because it started with 4 of us and then it became 6 of us. And by the time we finished all 22 on our side, we were all doing this conversation. Even people, trek leader, strong as anything, saying, I don't normally do stuff like this, and then couldn't wait for his go to actually join in and to share, and to realise that when he shared it, 21 other people were listening to what he was saying and sharing that. And I found that was just this very, very powerful piece. But also that question where we asked around, how do you celebrate success? There was a question
No
there.
one could answer it, could they?
No one could answer.
No.
Actually, Maddie Jew had some answers.
Yeah.
Just
one out of 22 of us could answer how we celebrate success, because we'd realised we actually don't feel safe enough to do so in the present society we live in, in that it's either if I say I'm good at something, then someone's going to knock me down, or if I say I've achieved something, then was it to the standard you were expected, or do we just move on to the next thing?
So what's next?
What's next? What's next?
Tick that box, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So there were powerful conversations that even at that time were happening. Do you have a fun thing, though, that still sticks in your mind that you thought, that was a perler?
Every single river crossing that Matty Rashid tried to get across. But it was just some of those moments. It was those walking moments where you just knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me it was repetitive across the river crossings. That sticks to me, watching everyone try to juggle across and not get their first class shoes wet, and those sort of things.
Yeah. I mean, even though it was hard, what for me, and it's probably a weird calling it fun, but just watching everybody, watching everyone achieve what they did and working together. One of my very favourite things is the group of Sarah people that didn't know it. They didn't know. There's 6 people that Sarah Constructions or the Sarah group sent along, had no idea who each other were. They all worked in different departments, but they were like the true indication of what a team working together is like and supporting each other. Right from the very minute we got there. There were people that struggled, there were people that were really confident, and that turned around. That could be turned around all in one day. You would not have known that those people didn't know each other, would you? Especially
by the end of it. And now, no doubt, like thick as thieves, they're awesome.
Yeah, it is that those connections, and that they were. I was watching them as they came through the final stages, and they came through the arch, and just this camaraderie, this bond, because she said they didn't know each other at the start, but you would have thought they've been friends forever at that point in time. And I think those bits are beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah.
When you see that just little spark and the little conversation, little friendships that actually grow.
And I think that goes for the whole group, right? I think a lot of us didn't know each other, but I think if one of us needed help with something, we could all reach out to each
100%.
other and we would be there for each other. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I loved there was a really special moment for me where there was a dad on the trek, and he asked, would I mind talking to his son to help him be able to have a conversation back. And that's a powerful thing for a dad to ask somebody else for help.
It's real vulnerability.
It's real vulnerability, and it was a beautiful moment. And we sat, we were looking out over a beautiful valley, and we just lay there together. And I was just chatting away, and we were just unpicking what the challenge was for the son and the challenges in his life, and then making those sort of connections and some ideas. And then I said, have a think about these sort of things tomorrow. And the next morning, before we even started, he said, I was thinking about him last night. And he was putting a whole range of different lovely solutions together. And then he said, how's your conversation? And I said, it's not for me to tell you how our conversation's gone. It went well, but someone wants to chat with you. And he said, I'll make time. And it was lovely a few months after the trek, and then both coming up and telling me and sharing the conversation they'd had. And he's done all the homework, all the preparation, all the planning. The dad had done all the listening, and you just think that was this incredible vulnerable part of somebody saying, I think I might need a bit of help here, just to help me across the line. And it's not that, I just was a listening tool for somebody else. And I think I had lots of listening tools along the way that people listened to me to help me, and it was lovely to give something back during that way.
There's the other part of it, though, during the trek as well, which it wasn't just about vulnerability, because so much, all of it was amazing. But there were so many times where you could, I don't know, I found myself walking just with a giant smile on my face, just going like, wow, how lucky are we? Not just lucky in life, but just to be here right now, like sections of that track in that jungle.
And I'm sitting here at the table as the only person who actually hasn't done the trek. And so it's been very interesting, obviously, to sit here and sort of take in all of the beautiful lessons that you guys have had. And I think there's two things that I kind of have sort of maybe grouped together from listening to everything. And the first one is how much gratitude came out of going through and doing an experience like this, and how that's something that you can choose, right? So when you're in the thick of it, you're 8-9 days of trekking up hugely steep hills, and how am I going to continue to do this? But also having moments where you're coming back to the gratitude and being present with the people that are there, and sort of changing that narrative from I have to I get to.
Yes.
That's been quite evident. And then the other thing that I've taken away as well is around, and this can be relayed back to so many different things in life, but when you have a very big challenge in front of you, such as this one, how daunting that might seem or overwhelming that might seem, but when you come back to it, it's exactly like Timu said to you, in it's small steps. It's what's the one next thing that you can do, and that's something I try to think about with my own mental health, for example, or when we're talking about mental illness in general, the idea of getting well, or how am I going to get out of this, can be quite overwhelming. But it's the same,
breaking it all down.
It's the same premise. It's what's the one next thing.
And it's that part, isn't it? That when we look at trying to solve everything that's happening in our life, can we actually just focus on the things we actually can control, and the things we actually can have an influence over, which is often ourselves, and that first sort of stage. And also around the importance of your friendship, your connection, your community that's around there, and then the knowledge you might need to help along that journey. Now, you're sitting here, though, saying, oh, well, I didn't have to do Kokoda. That's great. But you're doing New York, which,
I am.
So you're going to be taking a group of 11, 12
Yeah, I
people
think
to do
we're at 12
we're at 12 now, aren't we, to do the New York Marathon this year.
Yes.
Other things you've heard today that are very similar to your preparation and planning you're putting into place?
Yes, absolutely. So as a premise to that, like I'm not a runner at all. So I've spent 10 years in bodybuilding, but have spent most of my life actively telling myself that I can't run.
Yeah.
Which isn't true.
Yeah.
But your brain believes what you tell it the most frequently. So I have believed most of my life that I can't run. And so when the opportunity came up to participate in the New York Marathon this year with Breakthrough, I jumped right in. And so we have started training for that. But, I had to get the shoes first and I had to get the shorts first and I had to, get all the right bits and pieces.
That's really important.
It is. Thank you. They had to be cute, right?
Yeah.
Shopping for Kokoda was one of the best.
But I think when it comes down to it, it's exactly the same things as what you guys have all been sharing is that, like, I can't think about kilometre 42 or 41 or 38. I just need to think about what the next kilometre looks like or leaning back into that gratitude of the fact that I actually get to partake. I think that I will literally be the first woman in my bloodline to ever run a marathon. When I do it. So like I lean back into those type of things and feel immense gratitude that I'm able to do it, that I'm able-bodied to be able to partake. And I think, I do like to do hard things physically. I think that's been a proven part of my personality. But I like to do them because of what I learn about actually what I'm capable of mentally and emotionally by doing the physically hard thing, which you guys would have all seen in your experience too.
No, I think it's a good point, that, isn't it, about how far can we push ourselves or test ourselves. Did you push yourself too far? Did you push yourself right? Would you do it again, Min?
I am doing it again.
You are? When are you doing it?
In October. So
we decided halfway through, right, that Centurions was about the fact it's now going to get 100 people across the line. It doesn't have to be in one hit.
And Centurions is represents strength as well. It's not just about the number 100. So, and really, the 44 was a perfect number. We worked that out. We really don't want to take any more than 50 because that nice tight-knit group, even though we were split into two groups, we all walked together and we all ate together. And
don't scare Susanna off either. So Susanna is in the studio as well at the moment. She's our wonderful.
Susanna's already training. She's going to be amazing. The first time I did Kokoda, we signed up 5 weeks out because a couple of people had dropped out. I had a chest infection. I did about 3 walks. And I still made it. I was at the back of the group most of the time, but we still made it. So I think it's all about this. It's all about the,
all about the mind.
All about the mind and preparing that. But you do have to get some Ks in your legs.
But preparing the mind in a way as well from the start of going, the one thing that I think we can talk to vulnerability, we can talk to how difficult it was, the excitement before going.
Yeah.
The excitement when you cross the line, the lead up, but even afterwards, that celebration and that feeling of accomplishment for yourself and pride, and then going, and you'd probably attest to this, John, like you forget what just happened there. You just, all your mind goes to is how amazing that experience was. Like I don't have any, it's not until we're asked about the vulnerability piece of it that I even think about it. All I think about is, that was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. Like every time I think back to it, I think to the funny times. I don't think to that. Yeah. Unless someone says, "How was it?" Oh, I'll tell you. No. But when I think about it internally, I've only got positive thoughts of the whole experience from start to finish, from singing on the bus on the way out. Yeah. When you're asleep, we've got photos of you.
No, everyone gets pictures of me asleep.
And my question is then, like, so you said during the trek you talked about how no one could say how they celebrate the win, right? So you all had a win by finishing. How did you then celebrate?
We just celebrate that night, didn't we? Because one you celebrate as you get through the line, don't you? And you celebrate in your groups that you've walked with. So I'd done nearly every step with Jane, and we'd worked together. We encouraged each other. We got each other across through those difficult bits, and we enjoyed the fun bits. And there was a few days when we'd actually got up earlier, and there was a group of 6 of us that did that extra hour early trek because we knew you were all going to catch us up. But we all finished the trek at the same time. No one gets a medal that they did it faster at the front or the one at the back. We all finished it. So I think that was beautiful. So we celebrated as you come through. But then I loved the night then because we actually had a beautiful dinner, and we had it with all our porters. So all your porters that had all been part of that group. So your own individual porter, to the guys who were doing all the cooking for us, to the guys that went and cleared out every toilet before we got there. The whole group were there. And that was just such a beautiful thing because you get to do that reflection on the humble conversation. You get to thank and spend time with the person you've just spent the last 8 days with. And you also get the opportunity, I posed a question to to Timo one night, and I just said, is there anything, I'm going to finish this trek tomorrow, and is there anything you sort of like? And all he asked me for was batteries. He said, can I have your batteries? Yeah. And I said, of course you can. I said, but there must be something else you would want. And he said, oh, no, there's nothing. I said, well, think about it. And then let me know in the morning. And every start of every trek, we start with a big hug, me and Timo. And I said to him, did you sleep better last night? And he went, yeah. And then he said to me, I've had a thought. And he just looked down at my feet. And he said, can I have your shoes? And he'd done the whole trek in a pair of thongs. Yeah. And I said to him, which is incredible. And I said to him, have you been measuring up my feet? And he smiled and he went, yes. And we put our feet next to each other, and they were the same size. So, but it was that part that then, the pleasure of being able to, when I got back to the hotel, cleaning the shoes, putting a little bit of a pack together with your boots and some clean socks and just some things that are going to be really important and what have you. And I remember him opening, and he just looked at this bag and he said, "There's more than shoes in here, my good friend." And it was just like this most beautiful thing because it was a simple thing I could do, but meant so much. So
impact,
those impacts. So I think there are those beautiful sort of pieces. So this brings us sort of to a beautiful conclusion of the conversation. Thank you for sharing so much with us today. We pose one last question. This is called, a safe space. That's the conversation around that. But where's your safe space, Min?
My safe space isn't necessarily a physical space. So if I can be somewhere where I can be myself, not pretend, not have to mask, be my ugly, dirty, tired, emotional self. Yeah. That can be with family. It can be at home by myself, might be on a quiet walk, or even in a nice, open, honest conversation. Just being able to be who you are and where you want to be at that time. So, it's not necessarily somewhere, but, where you feel comfortable to be vulnerable and
authentic, open
and accepted.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. How about you, Chris?
I was thinking about it before. I'd say it's with the family. It's when I've started trying to celebrate the wins, when I can share the wins, but also when I can just complain and be sad and be me, and be allowed to be in that. Like Carmen's amazing at letting me just be me.
Yeah.
So if I'm having a shitty day, and that's that thing we spoke about on the trek where you're like just realising it's okay to just be in that space. So my safe space is just around the family. It doesn't matter where we are.
Like that.
It's just being able to be your truest version of yourself, because I think if you can go through that journey and have that person to support you through that, then we're fortunate. Not everyone has that. And I feel so grateful.
Not everyone has a Carmen or a Darcy.
A Carmen or a Darcy. and on that, and you got to do it with the boys as well, and with Link and Isabella. I got to do it with my brother Mitch. Incredible experience. To do that alongside your brother and your best mate. You go, how lucky are we?
I've got a beautiful photograph of the pair of you just deep in conversation, and didn't realise that anyone was watching you, but most of us were just watching this beautiful interaction and this open love for each other, which you don't often see into. But your boys were the same, weren't they? They were exactly the same.
That would have been me telling him how much I was wounded and him telling me, it's okay, it's going to be fine, you'll be right. But between and then just that one little step further, going to have with family, having Steve around to support us to be able to go on that. You sit back and go, how lucky are we? Like that's that moment.
Very much so. So if anybody What's the join the trek this year? We're going in October? October?
The 5th to the 14th.
5th to the 14th. How can people find out about the trek?
If they go to our website, Kokoda Centurions, and they can register their interest, and then we'll respond with a registration package and how they go about booking. We've still got some spots available. As I said before, we want to limit it to 50, but we've still got spots open. So please, if you're interested, register.
Yeah, and we'll put all those links in the show notes as well. So if anyone's listening, you'll be able to find it there, or you can DM us on Instagram as well.
Yeah. So guys, thank you for joining us in a safe space today. Thank you for your honesty, your vulnerability, and also the fun along the way. It's a hard trek, but it's a good trek, and it's an incredible experience, isn't it?
It is a good trek, and part of what Kokoda Centurions want to do is to, with the workshops along the way, is for people to come back with some more skills on, being leaders, being role models, getting into those vulnerable conversations with other people, and hopefully we achieved that. I think we did.
And knowing that if you set your mind to something, anything's possible.
Correct.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you to all our listeners for being part of this conversation and for taking those small steps with us today. A big thank you to you, Chris, and to Mignon for showing up so openly and generously sharing your experiences from Kokoda. These are the kind of conversations that remind us how powerful connection, matesmanship, vulnerability can all be. One of the biggest lessons for Kokoda is that nobody gets through hard things in one giant leap. It's that one small step, then another, then another. And while most of us might never walk the Kokoda Trek, many people are facing challenges they can feel just as steep in our own lives, whether that's through their mental health, through grief, stress, isolation, family pressures, or simply trying to keep moving forward when everything feels so heavy. What Kokoda teaches us is that progress doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do it alone. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take the next small step, ask for support, or lean on those people around you. That's what a Safe Space podcast is all about. Creating room for honesty, for connection, for resilience and support. And if you'd like to learn more about the work that Breakthrough is doing here in South Australia, or even more about next year's Kokoda Trek, you find more information in our show notes. And before we go, we'll leave you with the same question we ask our guests today. What is your safe space? Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
This is a safe space. Safe space. Say it out. We